So I was talking to somebody about, well, we were talking about our kids and we were talking about our own upbringings and our own lives and stuff like that. And we kind of just talked each other through kind of the different levels of a massive scam that is being run on people in the United States. And it's a humongous scam that affects every area of life. And I don't know if I'll be able to recapture everything we talked about, but maybe this will at least get you thinking. So what we were talking about was how, it's established that you can't believe everything you read online. And that's good. You can't believe everything you read online. You can't believe everything that you hear online. That makes sense. But what oftentimes happens is that we kind of fall back on this false idea that the arbiter of truth, like how we know what's really, really true versus what's fake and phony baloney, is through education, right? So you see people touting education as like the most important thing. In fact, that's how you become successful, is that you get educated. And like on one hand, like there's some truth in that. Like obviously you need to learn about things and about how life is, and in order to act in ways that are to your advantage and all that kind of stuff. But so often we kind of mistake education for schooling. And while those often go hand in hand, sometimes they don't. And schooling is not automatically a good thing. In fact, oftentimes schooling can be detrimental to your development as a human being. And I think that in the United States, very often this is the case. We often lament that the schools churn out liberals, right? They churn out progressives and all that kind of stuff, especially higher education. They're just churning out socialists left and right. And we're like, well, what's going on? Why is that? But when you sit back and you think about it for a moment, of course they're churning out liberals. Of course they're doing that. Like, think about the scam that is run when it comes to schooling, right? So number one, schooling is touted as like the way to get ahead, right? How many times have you heard the statistics? Well, if you've got a college degree, you're guaranteed to make $1 million more per lifetime or whatever. And it's just like, and even to like blacks and Latinos, right? Like I'm a Latino, right? And so I knew from a very, very early age, I don't know where I heard this, but from a very early age, I knew with every fiber of my being that the way to be successful was to go to the university, right? To go to college. I knew that. That was part of the plan from Jump Street. And again, I don't know where I heard this, but I just always knew it, right? And that's not the case at all. I mean, people are putting themselves in debt to get degrees that are essentially worthless. My degree was essentially worthless. I studied government and politics at the University of Maryland, and my studies were all irrelevant. You know what I mean? It was all nonsense. Every class that I took essentially was nonsense, maybe except for maps and map use. I took a class about how to use maps. That probably was helpful. But beyond that, I don't really see much that was very useful in any way in my life right now. And so the scam is, like they tell you, you go to school and then you'll be successful. And so, blacks and Latinos and whites as well, they're just focused, laser focused on getting into the right school, and do I get the degree, that kind of stuff. And not only that, though, think about this for a second. Think about this. They've made it so that you actually go into debt to get this education, right? And so now you're invested. See, that's the thing. This is the trick. This is the scam, right? They've gotten you to pay for this, often with money you don't even have, right? And so you go into debt to get this schooling, right? And so you're invested. And it's very difficult to see the error of something that you've invested in, because you're invested in it. That's why it's a word that we almost use as synonymous as like I've got a reason to do it, right? So you go into debt to go to this schooling, and what do you get when you go to school? I want you to think about your degree programs, right? Some of you probably got a pretty good education. Others of you, like myself, they had tried to indoctrinate me so bad in socialism, in communism. I remember thinking that it was a cool idea, that those protests that they used to do at the World Trade Organization and the IMF protests and stuff like that, and all the anarchy that would happen around that. When I say anarchy, I mean it in a colloquialism, like chaos is what I really mean. I don't mean actual anarchy. But the thing is, I thought that was a cool idea. I thought Rage Against the Machine was like the edgiest boy band in the world. Like they are the edgiest boy band in the world. You know what I mean? It's like they were so cool. Rage Against the Machine, dude. You know, I got attempted to be indoctrinated so bad, and because I paid for it up front, because I paid for it in debt. In other words, I enslaved myself to get this education. I was invested in it. Now God had mercy on me. And this is all it was. It was God having mercy on me that I was not indoctrinated as badly as I could have been. I did not escape unscathed, but I could have been indoctrinated much worse with the schooling that I got, that I was invested in, that now I'm going to be in debt slavery in for years to pay off the indoctrination that I got from a pagan, foreign, unbiblical, anti-gospel worldview. And it doesn't stop there. This is the thing. The scam doesn't stop there. What else does college represent? Think about it. Think about all the movies that you've seen. Think about all of the content that you've consumed about what happens in college. Not only do you go into debt financially, right? You sell yourself into slavery financially in order to go to school, to be indoctrinated by a foreign worldview, because your teachers weren't presenting you, if you went to a pagan school, and sometimes if you went to a Christian school, your teachers were not presenting you the Christian worldview. They were presenting to you humanism. They were presenting to you a false worldview, a way that actually confused you as to what's true more than anything, even in the hard sciences, by the way. Even in the hard sciences, I remember I took a biological anthropology class. They were trying to confuse me as to the origin of species. They were trying to confuse me and said, well, it's just time and chance and, matter just, eventually turn into humans. And it's like, no. God created the universe in 6 days. God created mankind. God created the animals in 6 days. Like we know how that happened, right? But I paid and I was invested and I sold myself into slavery in order to be indoctrinated in this way. God had mercy on me. But think about it. Beyond schooling, right? What did the movies tell you? School was a rite of passage. That's how you became an adult, right? That's how you became a man. And how did you do it? Well, you do it through debauchery. That's how you do it. That's how you get laid, right? Like you see, you go to college and then like you're studying like for your future. So it's like the best of everything, right? You get your future like just locked up and signed, sealed, and delivered. You're gonna make a ton of money, and then you're also gonna you're gonna get laid. Yeah, and it's going to be great. And there might be some debauchery there. You might regret some of the things you do, but you'll come out the other side and you'll be successful. And in fact, you'll be thinking of the good old days back in college. Like the movie Old School, right? Like, yeah, you're a successful business owner, and then you're going to want to go back to the days when you could just stay out all night and you'll sleep around. And so you're going to want to do that stuff. It's going to be a rite of passage. You see how they mess with your mind, man. They mess with your mind. They tell you that it's a good idea to sell yourself into slavery, to be indoctrinated into a false, evil, satanic worldview. And then while you're being indoctrinated in that worldview, so you're enslaved financially, you're enslaving your mind, you're also enslaving your flesh. Because now you are engaged in the very debauchery that full well God has spoken against. God has said those that do such things ought to be executed. They deserve to die, those who do those things. And so now you come out of college and you're all twisted up. You're all jacked up. And guess what, guys? You're now paying for that experience where you got all twisted up and jacked up and all that stuff. You're enslaved to your lusts. You're enslaved to in your mind as well. And you're also enslaved financially. So you're going to end up paying that off for decades after you're done. And so you're so invested in that 4-year period that they screwed you over. They messed with your mind so bad. They twisted you up. You came out of college. You don't know what way's up. It's a scam, guys. It's a satanic scam. And I'm not saying higher education is always bad, right? There are places you can go to get a real education, right? Where debauchery isn't part of the experience and all that kind of stuff. Where financial slavery is probably not even accepted, much less promoted, right? Like this is the thing. Like we have to get out of this system that tells our children that it's a good idea to go into financial slavery when you don't have to. It's a good idea to get indoctrinated in a worldview that is upside down. And it's a good idea. In fact, you'll actually be longing for the days when you were engaged in all kinds of debauchery every weekend, sometimes more than every weekend, because that's how you become a man. That's how you become a real adult. And it's so twisted, guys. It's so twisted. And then you come out the other side of that, right? And then we wonder, why are there so many like NPCs? They're just like robots. They're just like, oh yeah, of course, of course we should cancel Dr. Seuss. Of course we should. I don't even know anything about Dr. Seuss. I don't care. I'm just saying, all these people that they just, whatever the next thing is, they're right on top of it. They're coming out and they're totally committed. They're totally indoctrinated. Why is that? It's because, man, they gave up their souls for that 4 years, man. And we have to have compassion on those people, because it's a huge scam, and they come at you from every angle to promote these 4 years that they want you to enslave the rest of your life in order to experience. And the thing is, they come at it from different angles, man. It's not just white or black or Latino or whatever, but they attack each group differently. They attack poorer people by saying, this is your ticket out of poverty, right? This is your ticket out. And then it never ends up being that way. You enslave yourself. You're going to maintain your poverty. And on top of that, now you're engaged in debauchery. Now you're a slave to sin as well. You've always been enslaved to sin. But a lot of us, that's when we first got our first taste of real, just sort of complete debauchery. And then you come out the other end and you realize, man, I'm in debt up to my eyeballs. And I've got this sin debt weighing on me. And so, of course they vote Democrat. Why wouldn't they? Think about this. The Democrats are promising them liberation. They're promising them freedom. What are they saying? Well, we're going to cancel your debts. Yeah, I know it was our idea that you enslaved yourself for this, but you know what? We're kind. We're going to cancel your debt. And by the way, that debauchery that you were engaged in at school, we're going to get rid of that too. You don't even have to, that's not even really sin. Actually, that's something that you should shout. You should be proud of. You should march through the streets for. That's not anything to worry about. Of course they're going to support Democrats, at least a lot of people, right? You see, this is a religious system. It is a horrendous religious system, but it is a religious system. And so we need to have compassion on people that are locked up and all twisted up in this religious system. And we need to replace that system with the gospel of Jesus Christ, because there is a way out of all this stuff, but it's going to be the kind of way out that a lot of people, unless the Holy Spirit is working within them, are just going to reject, right? Yes, you can be free financially, right? You can be free, and the way to do it is to earn a good living and to pay off your debts and to, don't spend money on frivolous things, work hard, all that kind of stuff. And then there's a way out of your sin debt as well. And it's not through pretending like your sin debt isn't really there. It is really there, and there are really sins, but it's from turning from them. You don't have to live the life of debauchery anymore. Your mind doesn't have to be enslaved to the upside down. They got you all twisted up in those 4 years of college that you paid for. Yeah, you paid for it. You're invested in it, but you can just turn from it and go with what God says, because God is the arbiter of what is true and what isn't. God is the arbiter. And so I don't know if this captures the whole conversation I just had, and I don't know if that makes sense. It's a little bit of a ramble, I get it, but we have to understand that there is a religious battle happening right now. And the pagans have their worldview, and it's a horrendous worldview. We can see that when we're on the outside, but when you're on the inside, everything seems to make sense. Oh yeah, you become a man in college. Oh yeah, you spend a little money here. You gotta spend money to make money. All that kind of stuff. And you enslave yourself to this to get your education, because that's your ticket out. And then this just never works out that way. It never works out that way. Anyway, I hope you found this video helpful. God bless.